Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and I want to talk to you about the wonderful features of the Brother XP2. It's fabulous. The first thing you're going to notice is that there's an amazing amount of space from the needle to the inside of the arm. It's also really tall here, so you can get even a king-size quilt into here. But look at that beautiful lighting. It illuminates so well, and it illuminates from under the needle and up under the arm that it actually gives you so much light that while you're sewing, you don't have shadows. You have a matte surface here, so it's not going to reflect light and bother your eyes. But I want to turn that down really quick because for filming, I want you to be able to see what we're doing. So that light is so bright that it kind of messes with our camera. Now, I'm going to show you something that's really cool. This is just an ease of use thing, but if you take a look, there's this little lever here, a little button, and we pull it, and it automatically raises the needle plate, and then you can put it back in without any tools. And it actually comes with a couple of needle plates. Now let's talk about sewing. This machine does a beautiful job with sewing regular fabrics. So it actually will put the foot down for you, and then as you sew, when you stop, it can raise the foot for you so you can get to pivoting and pivot height. And I'm going to turn that feature on right on the screen right here. We turned that on, so now when I stitch and stop, it raises that foot, so that way we can pivot, and we can also manipulate the fabric without taking the needle out of the fabric. And you know how important that is to have a nice seam. Okay, so now another thing that we will want to do when we're sewing, whether it be we may be doing garments or tote bags or hemming, anything like that, if you have heavyweight fabric, this machine can go through that beautifully as well. It has a variable speed control, so you can stitch very fast. It does have the thread cutter, which I absolutely love. And then we also have a wonderful stitch that can be used for a top stitch. And I'm just going to give it a nice little top stitch because you want it to kind of match a ready-to-wear, right? And sometimes it's hard to find the thread to do that. So I'm just going to quickly run that seam. We're going to cut the thread. And then let's go back to a regular stitch. So now I have the 3 layers of denim there. I'm going to turn it up once, turn it up twice. Now we've got 9 layers of denim. And this is something that's really cool about this machine, is it has something called the aha feature. And that is when the foot starts to tip up like this, the machine will automatically adjust the ankle height so it keeps that foot more level and the pressure on that foot more level, so you can power through even the thickest of seams with no problem at all. And of course, for any type of construction that you're doing, you have stitches for knits and everything like that. Another real quick thing I want to show you for sewing is this foot right here. This is called the Move It foot, and how it works is it actually plugs into the back of the machine, and it has a little belt-driven system that will draw the top layer of fabric through while the feed dogs are working on the bottom layer of fabric. So you're going to get even feeding on top and bottom. And since it plugs into the machine, you know that it's motorized. And also in with that, you can adjust the rate of speed that that belt-driven system goes. So that way you can get the feeding you need for the fabric you're working on. So let me just get this plugged in. All right, and get it a little bit tighter. Okay, so now what I want to show you, I don't know if you noticed on the side, there's a little lever that will let it engage and disengage. Right now I have that disengaged, so it's absolutely no different than a regular sewing machine at this time. And I just want to sew a regular seam. This is minky, and if you've ever sewn on a slippery fabric like minky, you know how misbehaving it can be. So let's go ahead and give us a stitch on here, and let's take a look at how that did as a regular sewing machine. Not too bad, but look at the bottom, all crinkled up and wavy like that. That's because the bottom feed dogs are pulling it through and the top is sliding off. It's kind of like sewing on ice, you know? So now I'm going to engage the digital dual feed and put that down. And now let's give it another try. And we're going to stitch this, and let's see how well it behaves now. Okay, now you can see that's much flatter then let me see if I can ruffle it up. That's the original, and there's the one we just did. So much better, much more control, and you're going to love that. So also with sewing, I do want to let you see that there is a projector that is built into the machine. And what this will do is it will project guidelines onto your machine surface, so you can set this to be in line with the needle. So if I move this over so the green is in line with the needle position, then I know that I've got my seam is going to stitch here and my seam allowance goes there. So you can aim out in front and you can get a nice straight seam no matter what you're working on. There's also the side guidelines where you can have that at 90 degrees, you can have it at 60 or 45, so you can sew your bias binding and your half square triangles without marking, which is really, really cool. Now there's more to that too, so you're gonna have to come into our stores and check that out. But I'm gonna take off our digital dual feed foot here, and we're gonna switch over, turn this off, and close that out. We're going to go over and look at some features in embroidery. If you've ever wanted to do embroidery, this is really awesome because it has tons of patterns. It even has Disney. Now, if you're not a Disney fan, that's okay. There's tons of other designs in the machine. But I'm going to grab this cute little Mickey head, and I want to stitch him on a garment. Like, this is really cute. We did this one. Isn't that fun? I just bought the t-shirt at like Marshalls or something like that, and I decorated it up. So really, really cute. But if you want to have your embroidery in a very specific spot, this machine will help you. So I have it marked right here with my vertical and my horizontal line of where I want my design to go. Then I've put on this little sticker here. It's called a snowman sticker, and I just placed it right on the garment. And you're going to want to make sure that you use stabilizer with this and get it hooped properly. Okay, so we're going to hoop this the best that we can. Okay, so now with button plackets, you're going to have to try to avoid the button plackets, but I think I've got him in pretty good. And I did hoop him upside down, which I said is okay. It's all right. And I would put my embroidery foot on, but I want you to just see how this works. So I don't have my embroidery foot on, but you do so with embroidery foot and you do so with stabilizer. But here's our little Mickey right here. And I want it to sew exactly at my intersection. So this is a nice thing that you can do without having to stress about getting everything in the right spot. You can move and rotate and do other things here, but when we go to embroidery, we're going to be able to go in here and choose the little icon that looks like that snowman sticker. And we're going to ask it to scan, and then it's going to use the built-in camera to scan the contents of the hoop, and you notice on the screen it's already found my snowman sticker. So now it's going to move and rotate my design so it's in the proper spot so it can stitch out perfect on my shirt, so it ends up being exactly how I want it to do. It even tells me to make sure to take that sticker off. I say okay, and I can stitch. So that's one way you can get your designs perfectly placed exactly where you want them. Now there is another way. I want to get, oh, here he is, the little snowman from Frozen. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to slip in our big hoop. This is a huge hoop. It's 10 5/8 by 16 inches. But what's really cool is when we go over here to embroidery, I can touch this little cone icon, which in my book, that's a party hat, and it's just a party waiting to happen. So now what it's going to do is it illuminates where he's going to stitch. So this is another way that you can choose to have your design located and find out where it's going to be. And I'm going to use the directional arrows right on the machine, and I'm going to slip it over so he's exactly where I want him to stitch out. So he's going to be absolutely perfect. So you can use a snowman, or you can use the projection to get your designs right where you want them to go. Another fun thing that you're going to enjoy about the machine is being able to quilt with your machine. So let me go here and go there. So if you're doing a project where you want to quilt this like I have here, yeah, I've added the little micro stippling. You don't have to do that free motion. Let's just slip this in, put our hoop on, And I have all 3 layers of my quilt here. I have the batting, the backing, and the top all together. And then what I'm going to do is I want to go into my design center. So we're going to touch the scan button and we're going to tell it to scan what's in our hoop. And it'll say okay. And now it's simply going to use the built-in camera to take a picture of what is in the hoop. And we're going to be able to stipple right around this quilt design. Okay, so you're going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to do lots of other things. You can even add stippling and everything right from the embroidery screen. But I'm just going to grab a square right here because I have my square area and I want to size that down. There it goes. It even tells me the size. So if I, right here, so if I know what size it is, I can just type that in. So I've got that. That's great. Now I'm going to take the pencil and I am going to just draw around our area. And I'm going to pan over a little bit because what I don't want it to do is I don't want it to stitch on my item there. So I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm just going to trace around the edge. And I don't have to be overly neat, but I just want to make sure I have it so it's not going to stitch right there. Now, it does come with a stylus, and that is probably your best bet to use. And let's go back here to 100%. And now I'm just going to change my line properties because I don't want that line to stitch out. And I'm going to change my 2 lines to a no-sew. Now we can fill this in with a stipple and pour that in. Now I have a stippling there, or you can even come in and we can choose from 40 some different quilting fills that you might want to use. I'm going to leave it with the standard there, and then when we say next, we can change the size, make it a micro stipple, make it big, whatever you want to do. And when you say set, it's actually ready to be embroidered right now. It's that fast. Another thing that you can do with the machine is you can actually create your own embroidery designs. So here is one that I made, and I did the automatic stippling with that, but I actually created the cherry design by using this piece of clip art, and this is a special scanning plate that magnetizes. We're going to go back and go to my design center, and we can tell it to do an illustration scan, and it's going to scan and it will show everything on this, and we can work with it on the machine. I also use these cherries here. I'm not sure if you can see them. Let's see if I can get a spot where you can. So there's a cherry right there. I use that for the quilting design. You can probably see it from the back a little bit better, but you can actually create your own quilt patterns. You can create your own embroidery, whatever you may want to do. In fact, I took a recipe that my mom had and I scanned it and turned that into an embroidery design of her very own handwriting. So there's actually so much that you can do in creating your own embroidery designs. So let's see, I think it's just about done here, and you're going to see how it's going to display it right on the screen. And then I'll show you quickly some other things that the machine can do. So it's going to bring it up on the screen, and then you get to isolate the piece you want. So if I only want to work with the cherries, I can come put a box right around the cherries, and I make them a little bit taller, then say okay, and now it's ready for us to work with just those cherries. So then you can modify the type of stitch, you can modify the color that it uses, and the direction that the stitch goes, and then you can just create your own. But already it has created its own the design, and it's ready to go. So if I say set, and then I can say I actually want it to be here, and I'm going to fade the background so it's not in the way. So there's our embroidery design, and when I say next, it's actually turning it into an embroidery design right now. So now it's ready to be stitched out. Isn't that fantastic? There isn't really anything you cannot do with this machine. So a few things that are really cool about the machine is that you have all those different quilt patterns that you can use. It also does borders. And when I say it does borders, it automatically reattaches them when you rehoop the machine. You can do up to 108 by 108 inches. So you can do a king size quilt with the borders on this machine, and it will stitch as far as it can in the hoop, and then it will ask you to rehoop because it knows how it needs to go together. You can even do that with hexagons. So if you have something that has a hexagonal shape to it, you can have it automatically put those borders back together for you. Now, we have the XP2s. We have some that are classroom machines that we used for an event this last week. So we have a great special on those. So you're going to want to come into one of our stores and check that out. And you can find all of our locations on our website at qualitysewing.com. They're an amazing deal to get all the things I just showed you. Now, we do have just a few that have the upgrade that makes them an XP3. And in that, you're also going to get features like edge to edge. So if we take a look at this little piece here, I have it crooked, sorry. The edge to edge quilting was all done right on the machine, and the machine tells you how to put it back together. So you have all the spacing right, and the stitches line up one right on top of the other, so it doesn't look like you started and stopped. So if you don't have room for a long arm, you can do everything on an XP2 that's been upgraded. Then also there are large embroidery designs like this that the machine can do, and again, it will put them back together. So this is actually 3 sections, but the machine shows you how to put it back together. So you can create some fabulous, fabulous things. Also took another one of the 3-part designs and added this beautiful chenille yarn work font right onto that. And that is really fun. Again, that's with the upgrade. And my new daughter-in-law is a brand new auntie because my daughter had a baby. So this is a fun little item that I made the chenille letters using the yarn couching feature in embroidery, and they're built into that upgrade for the XP2 to turn it into an XP3. So as you see, you're limitless on what you can do with this machine, whether it's sewing, basic embroidery, or you want to do more and you want to quilt and you want to design your own. So come into one of our stores and take advantage of this awesome deal. It's only while supplies last, and we do not have very many of them. So make sure you come into one of our stores, and to get those locations, if you don't know where yours is, just check us out at qualitysewing.com.